Ladies and gentlemen, picture a world of shimmering gold and deadly shadows. A world where power is won not just with armies, but with intellect, charm, and cold-blooded ambition. Imagine a queen who held the fate of an ancient superpower in her hands, who stared down the Roman Empire, and who captivated two of the most powerful men in history. Her name was Cleopatra, and her story is more thrilling, more complex, and more mysterious than any Hollywood blockbuster could ever capture. Today, we're not just learning history. We are entering the mind of the last pharaoh of Egypt, a woman who played the Game of Thrones and changed the world forever. Let's begin with her entry into this dangerous world. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE into the glittering, chaotic city of Alexandria. This wasn't just any city. It was the intellectual and cultural capital of the ancient world, home to the great lighthouse and a legendary library. But the splendor hid a dark reality. Her father, Pharaoh Ptolemy XII, was a notoriously weak ruler, more interested in lavish parties and playing the flute than in governing, earning him the nickname the flute player. The kingdom was drowning in debt to Rome, and the palace was a nest of vipers. From the moment she was born, Cleopatra was a player in a lethal family drama. Her dynasty, the Ptolemies, had a long and bloody tradition of sibling rivalry, where brothers and sisters often married, betrayed, and murdered one another for a chance at the throne. This was the environment she grew up in, a world where every smile could hide a dagger, and every alliance was temporary. She learned early that to survive, she couldn't just be royal, she had to be ruthless. Now let's talk about her lineage, because it's not what you think. Cleopatra was the queen of Egypt, but she wasn't ethnically Egyptian. Her family was Greek, descended from Ptolemy I, one of Alexander the Great's most trusted generals who took control of Egypt centuries earlier. For nearly 300 years, her family had ruled as foreign pharaohs, speaking only Greek and often disdaining Egyptian culture. This is what made Cleopatra so different and so dangerous to her enemies. Unlike her ancestors, Cleopatra understood that to rule Egypt, she had to be Egyptian. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler to bother learning the native language, and she was reportedly fluent in at least 9 tongues, including Latin, Hebrew, and Arabic. While her siblings, like her younger brother Ptolemy XIII, plotted in the palace corridors, Cleopatra was studying economics, philosophy, and military strategy. She was building an arsenal of knowledge, preparing for a war she knew was coming. Her journey to absolute power began when she was just 18. Her father died, leaving the throne to her and her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII, to whom she was also married, as was the custom. But Cleopatra refused to be a co-ruler in name only. She asserted her authority, issuing coins with only her face on them. This audacity infuriated the powerful court officials who controlled her brother, and they forced her into exile, sparking a bitter civil war that tore Egypt apart. This is where the story takes a legendary turn. While exiled, Cleopatra saw her chance. The most powerful man in the world, the Roman general Julius Caesar, had arrived in Alexandria. Knowing she couldn't get a formal meeting, she arranged to be smuggled past her brother's guards and directly to Caesar. In one of history's most famous gambits, she was allegedly rolled up inside a carpet or a linen sack and delivered to his private chambers. When she was unrolled, she wasn't just a desperate queen. She was a brilliant strategist making an unforgettable first impression. Caesar, a man who admired boldness and intelligence, was captivated. He sided with her, and his Roman legions helped her defeat her brother's forces. In the ensuing battle, Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile River, leaving Cleopatra as the undisputed ruler of Egypt. She had won, but her victory had tied Egypt's fate directly to Rome and to the man who now shared her bed. As queen, Cleopatra's reign was defined by her fierce determination to restore Egypt's former glory. Her kingdom was on the brink of bankruptcy, but she was a shrewd economic manager. She reformed the currency, cracked down on corruption, and skillfully managed Egypt's vast grain resources, which were vital to feeding Rome's ever-growing population. This made her an indispensable ally and a very wealthy one. After Caesar's shocking assassination in Rome, Cleopatra once again found herself in a precarious position. But she didn't panic, she pivoted. She found a new Roman ally in Mark Antony, Caesar's charismatic and ambitious right-hand man. Their meeting was pure theater. She sailed to meet him on a magnificent golden barge, dressed as the goddess Venus. Their political alliance quickly blossomed into one of history's most epic love affairs. Together, they dreamed of a new Eastern Empire, ruled from Alexandria, with their 3 children as its heirs. Cleopatra's religious reforms were just as strategic as her romantic alliances. She embraced Egyptian faith in a way her family never had. She presented herself not just as a queen, but as the living reincarnation of the goddess Isis, the divine mother of all pharaohs. She appeared in public dressed as Isis, participated in ancient rituals, and had coins minted showing her with the goddess's divine attributes. This wasn't just about faith. It was a masterful stroke of propaganda that solidified her bond with the Egyptian people and elevated her status to that of a living deity. Her capital, Alexandria, was a monument to her power and sophistication. The city was a dazzling hub of culture and commerce, anchored by the Great Lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Her own palace complex was a city within a city, boasting sprawling botanical gardens, a private zoo, and the legendary Library of Alexandria, which housed the collective knowledge of the ancient world. Life inside her palace was one of legendary opulence. She hosted lavish feasts for visiting dignitaries that became the talk of the known world. In one famous story, to prove to Mark Antony that she could host the most expensive dinner in history, she allegedly took off a priceless pearl earring, dissolved it in a cup of vinegar, and drank it. Whether true or not, the legend perfectly captures her flair for the dramatic and her use of wealth as a weapon of influence. But this grand vision of a shared empire with Antony put them on a collision course with Caesar's ruthlessly ambitious heir, Octavian. In Rome, Octavian launched a vicious smear campaign, painting Cleopatra as a decadent foreign sorceress who had bewitched Antony and planned to conquer Rome. The Roman Senate eventually declared war not on Antony, but on Cleopatra herself. The final, epic confrontation was inevitable. The dream ended in 31 BCE at the naval battle of Actium. The combined fleets of Cleopatra and Antony were decisively defeated by Octavian's forces. They fled back to Alexandria, but the end was near. As Octavian's legions closed in, a desperate and broken Mark Antony took his own life. Cleopatra was captured, her kingdom lost, and her fate now in the hands of her most bitter enemy. Here, her story enters the realm of mystery. The legend, popularized by Shakespeare, is that she committed suicide by letting an asp, a venomous Egyptian cobra, bite her. The snake was supposedly smuggled to her in a basket of figs. But was it that simple? Historians debate whether it was a noble suicide to avoid the humiliation of being paraded through Rome in chains, or if it was a quiet assassination ordered by Octavian, who needed her out of the way. The truth died with her, and that leads us to one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, the location of her tomb. Ancient writers claim that Cleopatra and Mark Antony were buried together in a magnificent mausoleum, as was her final wish. But for 2,000 years, archaeologists and treasure hunters have searched for it in vain. Is it lying at the bottom of Alexandria's harbor, submerged by earthquakes and tsunamis? Or is it hidden deep in the desert, waiting to be discovered? The search continues to this day. When we think of Cleopatra's treasures, we imagine a tomb filled with gold. But her most fascinating artifacts are the ones that challenge our modern image of her. Coins minted during her reign show a woman with a prominent nose and a strong jaw, not the flawless beauty of a Hollywood actress. A marble bust in a Berlin museum reinforces this image. She appears intelligent, determined, and powerful, not merely seductive. Her true treasure was her mind. Today, Cleopatra's legacy is more powerful than ever. She is an undisputed pop culture icon, the subject of plays, operas, countless books, and blockbuster films. From Elizabeth Taylor's unforgettable portrayal to modern fashion and makeup trends, her image is synonymous with a certain kind of timeless, powerful femininity. She is a historical figure who has transcended history to become a myth. Modern historians continue to debate her true character. Was she a selfless patriot fighting to save her kingdom from the jaws of Rome? Or was she a cunning pragmatist, using her relationships with Caesar and Antony as tools for her own survival and ambition? Was she a victim of Roman propaganda, or a master manipulator in her own right? The truth is likely a complex mixture of all these things, which only makes her more fascinating. Finally, her story is filled with incredible facts and legends that blur the line between history and myth. It said she wrote a book on cosmetics and experimented with poisons on prisoners to study their effects. Legends claim she kept a pet crocodile in the palace pools. And one of the most tantalizing what-ifs of history concerns her son by Julius Caesar, Caesarion. Though Octavian claimed to have had him killed, whispers have persisted for centuries that he may have escaped, carrying the bloodline of two of history's most formidable figures into the shadows. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cleopatra was not just a queen. She was a scholar, a politician, a goddess, and a warrior who dared to challenge the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Her story is a timeless lesson in power, ambition, and the unbreakable will to carve one's own legacy. If this journey into the ancient world has captivated you, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because our explorations into history's greatest mysteries are just getting started. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and never stop digging for the truth.